Hey guys, welcome to the Millennial Book Junkie. My name is Monique, and today we're going to be talking about the mid-year book Freakout tag. This is my first mid-year book Freakout tag, so I've only read 10 books this year, so I don't have too much information to go off of, but I'm really excited to participate in this tag nonetheless. So let's get into the questions. What is the best book that you've read so far in 2024? For me, it was It Ends With Us by Colleen Hoover. I really connected to this book. It really was hard to read at some parts, but it really kept me engrossed, and I especially really thought it was interesting that this book doesn't really rely too heavy on character descriptions, but I was able to relate to the characters still. And that is something that I've always found really interesting about Colleen Hoover's writing. I mean, let's be real, this is only my first book by her, but I just found it really interesting that she could really compel me without diving too deep into what the characters looked like. I think we kind of understood their character more than their descriptions of what they actually looked like. So you could kind of picture what they look like. I don't know. But I also just connected with this, and I read it so quickly, and I really liked it. So this so far for me has been the best read of 2024. What is the best sequel you've read so far in 2024? I unfortunately can't answer that because I haven't read a legitimate sequel so far in 2024, but what I will say is I did read the second book by an author that had just come out a few years ago. So the second book by an author I read in 2024 was The Perfect Escape by Leah Conan. I'm just going to use this as an example since I didn't read an actual sequel. This isn't a sequel, but it is her second book. She's written a lot more now, but I did read her second book that she ever wrote this year. And I gave it a solid 3. It was interesting. It's about 3 women who decide to go on a vacation together, and of course someone goes missing, and of course things get crazy, and of course there's lots of little twists along the way, and of course someone ends up dead. I mean, that's just how it goes. So this one is called The Perfect Escape by Leah Conan. It is the second book by Leah Conan that I read, and I've just barely read it in 2024, but that is my answer to this sequel question as of right now. What is a new release that you haven't read yet but want to? For me, that is Home is Where the Bodies Are by Geneva Rose. I have been really wanting to read this book, and I don't want to read it until I can buy the cool cover of it because it's shaped like a VHS. So every time I go to the bookstore, I look for it, and I've been wanting to find it so I can buy it and read it and be all like 80s, 90s vibe, but I can't seem to find it every time I go to the bookstore. So that's probably because everyone has it. So that is the one I really want to read this year, and it's a new one that just came out, so it's on my list. What is your most anticipated release for the second half of this year? I honestly don't know. I said in my intro video when I started this channel that I am just starting to pick up reading again after many years. I used to love it as a kid, and I got really distracted in my 20s, and so now that I'm in my let's just say late 30s, I haven't been able to. I've just now gotten back into reading, and so I'm not really on the up and up on what's coming out, and I'm just discovering new authors, so I'm still kind of in a discovery phase. I'm really hoping by this time next year I will have a really good answer to this question. What is your biggest disappointment in 2024? For me, it was Alcohol Lied to Me by Craig Beck. I really am into Quit Lit, and I've read a lot of it, and this one looked really good. I got it as a gift. But it had some good concepts, but it didn't really have a clear structure for me to follow. For example, he talks about his own method for quitting drinking, but it wasn't very clear to me what that method was. And I figure people go to this book for some kind of way out of their drinking or to discover some kind of method to stop drinking. And for some reason, this one didn't really give too many clear structures on how to do that, but it is a good book if you just want some tips to help and some mindset shifts. It's good for that, but I just really expected more out of this book, and it didn't give me anything that I kind of expected, but it did give me some new mindset things to think about, so for that I am grateful. What was your biggest surprise in 2024? For me, it was really It Ends With Us by Colleen Hoover. I normally don't read books like this. Like, I don't know. I know there was a lot of hype around it, and I didn't really want to read it. But then when I saw the movie was coming out, I was like, okay, I'll read it. And I loved it. I really loved it. And I didn't think that I was going to get that into it, and I did. So that was the biggest surprise of 2024 for me. Favorite new author, Colleen Hoover. I have to say, this is the first book that I read by her this year, and she was the biggest surprise and favorite new author for sure. I've read a lot of new books this year, but so far she's the one that stuck out to me. I just bought Verity because everyone said it's really good, and now I kind of just want to read all of her books. And eventually I think I'll read It Starts With Us. But yeah, so far she's the new author that I'm crushing on lately. Who is your newest fictional crush? I would have to say Atlas Corrigan in It Ends With Us. And that is because, I know that's like the 5th time I've mentioned this book, but he seemed like a really genuine guy, and I just really, really liked his character, how he came and he really helped Lily see like what was going on, and just kind of like helped her remember her younger self and make better decisions. And he just seemed like a really good, lovable guy. And so yeah, right now that's the only one that comes to mind for this year at least. Newest favorite character in 2024. For me, it is Allie from Good Girls Don't Die. So Good Girls Don't Die is this story that is about 3 women who are kind of in their own horror novel scenario. The book is separated into 3 parts, and each of these 3 women are going through some sort of kind of like mystery novel, horror novel scenario. I don't want to give too much away. I'm going to talk about it in another video, but there is this one girl named Allie who is kind of living in a slasher scenario, kind of like Friday the 13th vibe. It reminded me of like a lot of the scary stories and movies that I used to watch growing up, and her character was just really good at identifying like horror tropes throughout the book and throughout her story, and like helping to like save the day by saying, you know, the rules of not dying in a horror movie, which are do not separate, you know? And so I just loved her character because she really was like talking about a lot of ways to stay alive in the horror story that she was in. And a lot of it was very believable and realistic. And I just really liked her character. I felt that I really just wanted to keep reading about her. And so far, she's the one that comes to mind. She's the only character so far that I've read this year where I feel like I really just enjoyed watching her survive. And so yeah, I'd say Allie from Good Girls Don't Die. What's a book that made you cry this year? It Ends With Us. Did it make everyone cry? Probably not, but it made me cry. There was a lot of emotional scenes where Lily is going through it with Ryle, and I just feel badly for her, and I'm just really touched by the things that she is going through and saying and thinking, and you know, it made me cry. So there you go. What book made you happy in 2024? Paris Hilton memoir. This book made me so happy. It made me just like feel like I could just be free and do things that I love and enjoy my life, and just, you know, she never really inspired me as a kid, or I guess as a teenager, but her personality is just so fun and kind of like energetic, and just like the vibe of her music, lights, color, she's just fun. And I have to say that this one really made me happy. Of course, she talks about her, you know, upbringing, which was not the greatest. And I did a whole vlog on this book, which I'll link to. But this book really made me happy as I was reading it. It was a really quick read, and yeah, I liked it. So what is the most beautiful book that you bought or received this year? And for me, I'm like a big fan of paperbacks. I think probably just because I don't have a hardback that I've completely fallen in love with yet. I do have one by Douglas Adams actually, but it wasn't purchased this year. So to focus on this year, I did buy a paperback that I loved the cover of, and that is Just Like Mother by Anne Heltzel. I'm such a horror and thriller fanatic that and dolls really scare the crap out of me. So I really, really loved this cover. And I also really like turquoise. So I don't know, there was something about this cover that really stood out to me that I can't stop thinking about. And I have not read this book yet. I'll probably read it next month. But this one really stood out for this question in particular. I love it. What books do you need to read by the end of the year? Well, for me, I would just love to read all the books in my bookshelf. But for me, like the top 3 that come to my mind, well, this one for sure, Just Like Mother, but also The Hacienda by Isabel Cañas. This one looks really good. It's about this woman who goes to a very haunted estate, and it has the word exorcisms on the front, so I had to get it, and I have to read that this year. Like, it's gonna happen. Also, The Quiet Tenant by Clemence Michelon. I need to read this book. I just have to. It looks so good. It's about a serial killer who's trying to hide his latest victim from his daughter. And I don't know, it's grabbed me. The cover, it looks really good. And I also have to read Sherry Lapina's Everyone Here Is Lying. And I also have to read The Bodies, Home Is Where the Bodies Are by Geneva Rose. And I have to read at least one Riley Sager book because everyone talks about Riley Sager and I'm just like, please let me read some Riley Sager. So those are the books that I definitely need to read this year. And then, of course, a million others that, I probably won't bore you with. So that's my mid-year book freakout tag. If you like books that are horrors and thrillers or just talking about books in general, don't forget to subscribe, and I will see you guys next time. Bye.